policies.
That's some misinformation. You can not like me, but don't lie on me. I saw someone I really respect, a black woman who's a commentator.
So you don't support him?
Not to stop dreaming.
No, you cannot stop dreaming.
Anything is possible.
You have to. You have to. You have to keep whatever 9-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-old is in your head, keep that child alive. No matter what you see in the mirror, you're still that child. And your imagination has to be bigger than the room, bigger than the building, bigger than the sky, because if you keep the imagination alive, everything is possible.
That's right.
When you limit your imagination, nothing becomes as possible as it could be. So.
Now,
yeah.
you know, I'm a former prosecutor.
Yeah.
And there were some other headlines that came out. And I was very upset about it.
Yeah.
Because it was unnecessary, and you don't do that on that special night.
Yeah.
Especially for what I read about.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna ask you is, there was an incident at the Grammys. It led to you being taken out in handcuffs and arrested. That was wrong. Obviously, it's an ongoing legal matter, so I don't know how much you can say about it.
Well, as a prosecutor, you know I can't say it.
You can't say much. But can you just give us some sort of description, because people are they're talking too much.
I think the backstage was overcrowded. I think the winners were exuberant. And I think security got a little overzealous, and that's all. It's all, you know, it's water under the bridge for me.
Yeah.
But I like to say all of my heroes have been in handcuffs. Malcolm, Martin, Mandela, Medgar. So, you know, I walked out with the same dignity and respect that I walked in with. And I would implore people to just take that from it. Don't dwell on the bad stuff.
It was supposed to be a celebration, a victory lap, a moment of pure triumph for one of hip-hop's most respected voices. Fresh off the heels of his triple Grammy win, Killer Mike, rapper, activist, and unapologetic truth-teller, walked onto the set of The View with his signature calm, commanding presence. The audience welcomed him with applause, ready to hear from a man who had just made history. For Mike, this wasn't just about music. It was about the decades of work he'd put into his art, his advocacy, and his community. This moment symbolized the rise of a man who never compromised, who stayed grounded while reaching the heights of the industry. Everyone expected joy, maybe some laughs, and talk of his Grammy-winning album. After all, Mike had just achieved one of the most prestigious honors in music. But what unfolded next was something no one saw coming. Instead of basking in the celebration, the tone would take a sharp and unexpected turn. And Killer Mike, he would be forced not for the first time to stand his ground and speak truth to power. And that is where this story truly begins.
Warnock and John Ossoff.
Yep.
Yeah, and you got some attention recently for being somewhat critical of President Biden, saying you weren't ready to endorse him yet. What's your holdup there?
What's my holdup? Well, first of all, I think everyone should focus on hyper-local. We get caught up in the soap opera of federal elections, and that's fine. But if you are concerned with the federal election, you don't know who your city council or your wardsman is, you don't know who your mayor is, and you don't have a good list of state representatives or governor, then you're just a part of whoever wins the Super Bowl or fanfare. Even though we have a Republican governor, Brian Kemp, I have a good relationship with him. I like what he's done in terms of Georgia business. We've been leading business amongst all states for the last 10 years, and he brought back the Hope Scholarship and expanded it. So if you're a kid in Georgia, you're poor, you got to be average, you can go to college for free or trade school. So in my community, girls are going to college, but boys don't have anywhere to go, and they're not choosing to. In my community, I have a push for trades. That's why I support organizations like Georgia Youth Build. I support organizations like Next Level Boys Academy, because they usher out boys. I need my daughters to be able to marry somebody.
Right.
So, and even in that case, I have said, okay, this governor's doing a good job. In terms of nationally, I'm just kind of doing what my grandfather said, staying out of white folks' business and watching what happens.
You lost me a little bit with your support of Kemp, but let me tell you this.
Not support of
some
Kemp.
of his policies.
That's some misinformation. You cannot like me, but don't lie on me. I saw someone I really respect, a black woman who's a commentator.
So you don't support him, you like his policies.
Well, I support
some specific ones he named.
Beyond it, he's the governor of my state, so I have to be involved with him because I can't divorce myself. But let me say this. If you criticize someone, don't lie. Don't say I didn't support Abrams, because I did. Don't say that I don't support Democrats, because I've helped get 3 Democratic mayors elected. I've helped get 2 state representatives elected. But if someone is in the king's seat, I'm not going to not have dinner with the king on behalf of my people. I have to do that.
Enter Sunny Hastina, former prosecutor and co-host of The View. With a calm but pointed demeanor, she steered the conversation away from the joy of Grammy Gold and straight into controversy. Instead of asking about the music, the artistry, or the message behind the album, Sunny brought up the incident. The one night that should have been unforgettable for all the right reasons. The night Killer Mike was briefly arrested backstage at the Grammys. Now, keep in mind, this situation was already being handled legally. No charges, no scandal, just an overzealous moment backstage during the chaos of a high-stakes event. And Sunny, she knew that, as a former prosecutor, she understood the boundaries. But she asked anyway, pressed for answers, dangled that moment of drama in front of a national audience. It wasn't curiosity, it was strategy. And the goal? Simple. Shift the spotlight away from Mike's success and onto his supposed scandal. But Mike didn't flinch because what Sunny didn't realize was that Killer Mike had come prepared for more than just a celebration. He came ready for anything. He responded to Sunny's question with the kind of grace that only comes from years of standing firm in the spotlight. No anger, no defensiveness. He explained it simply. The backstage was overcrowded. The winners were exuberant. And security got a little overzealous. That's it. No scandal, no chaos. Just a moment that got out of hand, and for him it was already water under the bridge. But then came the line, the one that shifted the whole room. All of my heroes have been in handcuffs, Mike said. Malcolm, Martin, Mandela, Mir. That wasn't just a clever deflection. It was a declaration. Now, pause right here. This was another trapdoor moment. A national platform, a polarizing president, and a politically savvy artist. It had all the ingredients for controversy. But Killer Mike didn't flinch. He leaned in and made one thing clear. This isn't about party loyalty. It's about power, policy, and the people. Mike broke it down like only he can. The real action isn't at the top. It's at home. Federal elections, sure, they're flashy, but the mayors, city council reps, and state legislators, that's where the real change happens. And just like that, Mike flipped the focus. He wasn't playing DC. Chesh was building real-life checkmate moves right in his own backyard. He talked about how too many people get caught up in the soap opera of federal politics, presidents, campaigns, party wars, while ignoring the power sitting just down the street. Local politics, he said, is where real transformation begins. If you don't know your city council member, your mayor, your state rep, then you're just a fan of politics, not a participant. And that hit hard, because Killer Mike wasn't just preaching, he was living it. He's boots on the ground in his community, supporting local initiatives, pushing for education, advocating for trade, programs to lift up young men who've been left behind. He even spoke about how girls in his community are making it to college in higher numbers, but the boys, many are slipping through the cracks. That's why he backs groups like Georgia Youth Build and Next Level Boys, academy organizations that train, guide, and empower. This wasn't a lecture. It was a blueprint to challenge. Focus less on presidential theatrics and more on who's actually changing lives in your zip code. Once again, Mike shifted the narrative with truth and vision as his compass. He gave credit a Republican, specifically Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. Now, hold up. On a show like The View, that's basically dropping a political grenade on the table. And Mike knew exactly what he was doing. But he didn't praise Kemp out of loyalty or political alignment. He praised results. Mike explained that despite being on opposite sides politically, he respects what Kemp has done for Georgia's business climate. Even more importantly, he talked about Kemp's expansion of the Hope Scholarship, making it easier for low-income kids to go to college or trade school. If you're a kid in Georgia and you're poor, you just have to be average, and you can go to college for free. Mike said, that's a huge deal in his community. That's the impact. And just like that, he made it clear, this isn't about red or blue. It's about what helps his people. His logic was simple and powerful. If someone's in the king's seat, I'm going to have dinner with the king in behalf of my community. You could feel the panel's discomfort. But Mike, he stayed cool, calm, and deeply real. The moment Killer Mike praised Governor Kemp, her expression changed. You could feel the tension thicken in the studio air. She leaned forward, trying to reclaim the moment. You lost me a little bit with your support of Kemp, she said, clearly trying to paint Mike's words as a betrayal of democratic values. But Mike, he didn't blink. What came next wasn't a defensive rant. It was a surgical strike. That's some misinformation, he said. You cannot like me, but don't lie on me. Boom. The entire tone of the conversation flipped. He calmly laid out his political resume. He did support Stacey Abrams. He did help elect Democratic mayors and state reps. He's worked on the ground in real communities, making real changes happen. But he doubled down on his point. He'll work with whoever's in power because progress for his people matters more than party lines. The room got quiet. Sonny had no comeback because Mike wasn't just making a point, was living it. It wasn't about loyalty to a party. It was loyalty to the people. And in that moment, Killer Mike didn't just defend himself. He redefined the conversation. Killer Mike didn't raise his voice. He didn't get flustered. He corrected the record with facts, receipts, and purpose. He reminded everyone that true leadership isn't about who you align with, it's about who you serve. He broke it down clearly. He's not endorsing anyone blindly. He's not going to avoid working with someone just because they wear the wrong color tie. If a policy helps his people, he's showing up to the table. If someone is in the king's seat, Mike said, I'm not going to not have dinner with the king in behalf of my people. Think about that. That's not politics. That's strategy. That's community first thinking. That's grown man leadership. Sonny was stunned. The panel had nothing. Even the audience shifted. You could feel it. The applause wasn't loud. It was deep, like people just realized they heard something real in a world full of noise. Mike didn't come to play games. He came to shift the energy. And in that moment, it was crystal clear. This wasn't about Democrat or Republican. This was about results. Killer Mike didn't just survive the interview. He owned it. While the panel tried to pull him into partisan controversy, he stayed focused on what truly matters: his community, his principles, and real measurable progress. He refused to let a brief headline define his moment. Instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, he responded with clarity and conviction. He turned a potential takedown into a powerful teaching moment on leadership and resilience. By the end of the interview, it was clear Killer Mike wasn't there to argue sides. He was there to elevate the conversation. He emphasized the importance of local politics, economic opportunity, and working with anyone in power if it means making life better for the people he represents. This wasn't just a media moment. It was a reminder that real leadership isn't about party line, it's about showing up, standing tall, and putting people first. Thanks